And away we go. Welcome to the pickup meeting. Here we are, Brody. I have to say, as we get started today and the intro music is guiding us in, we've heard so many people that really love the music on the intro. That was all you, my man.
It was kind of funky, right? Nice little groove there. You can just bob your head to it, get into the show, get kind of emotionally ready. I love it.
Yeah. And we have an exciting show today. So, we were talking just music there, and I really feel like you're a big music guy. Like it's your thing.
It's one of my things. I got lots of things, but it is definitely one of my big things. But you love music too, Kevin.
I do all kinds of things. I'm excited just to talk about that a little bit. But, it's one of those where I'm not a big concert person and you're a massive concert person.
Yes.
I probably have not been to more than 15 in my life. And I think you went to 15 last week.
Yeah. I think I've been to over 100 concerts in my life. Certainly. No question. So we were talking about this the other day. Like I asked you when we started to have this conversation, like what was the first concert you ever went to? And I loved hearing what you said.
First concert ever was Weird Al Yankovic at Six Flags in St. Louis. And I couldn't even tell you what he was there for, but like there was an area where they did concerts or shows, and went back there and it was fantastic. There were so many wardrobe changes in a Weird Al concert. I was kind of blown away because he does all the skits and different things that he would have done back in the day and do outfit changes and get on the costume for various songs that he's made hits of his over the years. So
like Madonna, Taylor Swift, like.
Yeah. Michael Jackson, he got on the suit for, what is it? Fat was his song.
Yeah.
What was your first concert?
Billy Joel, Market Square Arena, 1989. Yeah. It was great.
It's hard to go wrong with Billy Joel. Yeah.
Yeah, we loved it. I'm so glad to have seen him live. I've not seen the documentary. It's on HBO. I don't have HBO yet, but I've heard just amazing things. I'm looking forward to digging into that. So then we kind of asked ourselves, like, we know the first concert. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Oh, easily for me is Garth Brooks. Easily.
Oh.
It was at the Dome in St. Louis. It was on the floor. And, I'm not a big concert person. And when the notes started playing for some of his songs at the start of the show, it wasn't like I was crying. It's just that my eyes wouldn't stop leaking. It wasn't like that wasn't the emotion that was happening, but it was just so much smiling and all of a sudden just like crying and I just couldn't stop. What about you?
Yeah, I saw Guster at Red Rocks. My wife and I, our favorite American band is Guster. They have a cult following, but they played Red Rocks in 2021. Like during that month when the pandemic kind of just ended and we all thought COVID was over. So everybody was extra happy. It was so great. Just a great community. They sold out. And I cried. I mean, I did cry. I mean, when Come Downstairs and Say Hello came on, it was amazing. But I've seen so many. It's hard to just pick one, right? I saw U2 play the Joshua Tree live in Louisville. An airplane came right over the stadium, right as where The Streets Have No Name was kind of hitting its climactic point. That was pretty amazing. So I've seen a lot of great shows. Anything at the Ryman. Boy, I've been at the Ryman 3 or 4 times in Nashville. Such an amazing venue. The sound is always great there. I saw Keane there. I've seen Phoenix there. Gosh, so many great shows. We could talk about that forever. That's not what this show is about, though, Kevin.
You don't want to talk about all the shows you've been to?
No, that wouldn't be fair to our listeners.
Or to my ears. Yes, agreed. Both of those things are true. The other thing that we do not have a commonality on this. I have an appreciation for concerts, but I will say I find myself saying I'd rather just hear it on the radio or on my headphones or whatever, right? Like
fair enough.
It's not. I've literally walked out in a Dave Matthews concert, right?
No.
It just, good gosh, man. People that just like to hear himself play the same note over and over again. But I like Dave's songs. Just please never make me go to a concert again. So it's like we have some commonality on the music side, but it's the fall, and I'm a fantasy football guy, and you are not.
No, it is stupid.
It's not stupid. It's
a
great time. What's your issue?
Football is real. Like it's hard enough to care about football if you like football. And then it's even harder if your fantasy football guy is, say, for example, Edgerrin James, which I think I played fantasy football maybe 2 years. And Edgerrin James was my running back one year. And it was the year he had almost 2,000 yards total offense, but he scored like 4 touchdowns, it felt like. So, he 200 total yards, no touchdowns, so you lose every week. Like, that's dumb. He was so he was so valuable to the team. And all I was worried about was whether or not he scored a touchdown. Like, that's not the way I can watch football. It's just not the way.
I have so much fun with it. And here's the other thing, and I don't hide this. I'm fairly good at it. When I play, I've won some money, and just have a good time with it and play with various groups from life. And it's a great time, but it got me to thinking about what are the things that you would secretly be amazing at if you tried?
Well, first off, let me just tell you, I want to come back to fantasy football for one thing. I held this joke, right? Fantasy football for me is the Dolphins being good every year. Like, that's a fantasy football dream.
Yeah. And listen, that's just not going to happen. The Dolphins are terrible.
They're always terrible. Okay, so one thing I'd be good at, we were talking about this the other day on the phone, secretly good at if we tried.
Yeah.
I think I would be a really good karaoke singer.
But you've tried this, right? Like, you've
but
done
not
some,
really. Like, they do contests and stuff. Like, you can go every week. I mean, I've done karaoke. I mean, I think I would be really, really good at it if I really tried.
And your go-to song is let me just guess, is like John Cougar and Mellencamp.
I've done one of those, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the last time we were in Vegas, I might have heard you sing Little Jack and Diane, maybe.
Yeah. Rocket Man is another one I really like. Mr. Brightside, if you're trying to get the crowd going.
Mr. Brightside apparently does it. I've not done that one. So I'm
the whitest guy there ever was, I think, when I named those 3 songs. What would be the thing that you would do, Kevin? Like, what would you be really good at?
So when I was in college, I was a writer for the Murray State News when I was on staff there. And then I've done various writing since then. And so I always say maybe writing would be fun for like sports and publications and websites and things of that nature. But I think my lean in this moment is I would love to be involved in like the GM aspects of like professional sports.
Oh,
right.
That sounds super fun.
That would be a lot of fun. I wonder if I'd get burnt out on it, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. It's a lot of nuts and bolts and looking at multiple layers and kind of similar to my world right now where I'm looking at all the things at all the times, but just in a different way with something that I really enjoy outside of my job in higher education with sports. So that's what I think I'd go with. It's way less fun than your karaoke thing, but I think it would be a good time.
I think you'd be good at it. I mean, we're all legends in our own mind when we're trying to manage our favorite teams as fans. I think you'd get good at it.
I'll tell you this. I think that if I was hired as a GM right now, I could not do worse than what the Dolphins are already.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You're making my fantasy football dreams go sour. Now it's a nightmare, Kevin.
If they'd only hire me.
That's true.
But that's not what folks are here for. We just lost 7 audience members because they're like, oh, they're talking about junk again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's redeem ourselves.
Let's do that. Let's bring on our guest today. And really, let's bring on this wonderful guest we have today. We have Dr. Jenny Bloom, professor at Florida Atlantic University, co-founder of Appreciative Advising, pioneering voice in our field, just an amazing professional, a wonderful friend. Jenny Bloom, welcome to the show.
Hello, friends. How are you?
We're doing great. We're so happy to have you on the show.
Well, I want to start by saying, Brody, I am on Team Brody in terms of the concert versus listening on headphones. Come on. My first concert, which will date me, I was about 10 years old, and I was out in Los Angeles visiting my aunt and uncle and my grandparents, and my aunt took me to Tom Jones at the Hollywood Theater, and it was amazing. And I'm so glad to hear that yours was Billy Joel.
Yeah.
I've seen Billy Joel a number of times, including at Madison Square Garden. That was really special before he ended his run there. So, yeah, and here we're going to Las Vegas next month.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to see, I've got Lionel Richie.
Oh.
Yeah, he's going to be playing that Saturday night right before the conference starts. So gonna do that, and then I'm also gonna see the Wizard of Oz on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, you're going to the Sphere.
Wow, yeah. Have you been to the Sphere yet?
No, but what they've done sounds amazing.
I've been there twice. I saw U2 on their last night there. I also saw Kenny Chesney earlier this summer. So it will forever spoil you from any other concert venue. It's unbelievable. Words cannot describe it. So I hope you all get over there to the Sphere, at least for the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Brody, can you name a Kenny Chesney song?
No. I cannot.
When I say this, I'm serious. I would go see any performer at the Sphere. It is that amazing. And I am not a big Kenny Chesney fan, but I was just speaking to one of my former students this morning, Jesse Ford, and he mentioned a Kenny Chesney song that really stuck with me, which is Don't Blink.
Oh.
Just about how quickly life goes by. And that's kind of because, Brody, of course, you're at my alma mater, Illinois State University. Right. And so it just seems like I blinked and here I am at Florida Atlantic University, but it just seems like yesterday I was an undergraduate at ISU.
And I love how you end every email with me, go Redbirds.
It makes me very happy to have you there because Illinois State will always have a near and dear place in my heart. And just to know that you're there and doing important work, leading, advising, I can't even tell you how happy that makes me. So thank you for choosing ISU.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Jenny, I think a lot of times when folks get an opportunity to interact, we hear a lot about appreciative advising as it is today or as they'll use it in their lives and in their work. What was the original spark there with appreciative advising? Like, was there a moment or a conversation that the seed was just planted and all of a sudden it went from well, that's neat to this is going to be my life's work?
Yeah, I certainly did not expect that, by the way. Yeah, it all kind of came together and in kind of a moment, I would say. It was in 1999, I got to attend an American Council on Education Women's Leadership event. And I had no business being there. By the way, I got there through a fluke. The former president of the University of Illinois, Stan Eikenberry, became the president of ACE. And I had heard about this women's forum through an ISU connection that I made up at Hamburger University in Chicago. And there was a woman, Susan Kern, who was the vice president for business affairs there. And she gave this great talk at the American Council on Education event. And I spoke to her afterwards because she had mentioned something about ACE and this women's leadership forum. And I said, you mentioned something about this women's leadership forum. I've never heard of that. Can you tell me more? And she's like, oh yeah, it's great. They bring in all kinds of folks to come speak to women leaders. You get to do some mock interviews, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, great. How would I learn more? And she's like, well, it's by invitation only. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. And she's like, actually, I will be happy to nominate you for this event. And I'm like, really? I mean, I just met her 2 minutes ago. And she's like, I'm serious. And so she said, send me your resume and I'll submit it. And so I got to go. And it was at this ACE event that I got to meet a woman, Nancy Martin, who was an executive search consultant who picked me out of the crowd, basically, and gave me an opportunity to write a book about how to advance your career in higher education with her.
Wow.
And so then every 6 months after this, Nancy and I would go and do this training at these women's leadership forums for ACE. And in 2002, I was teaching an academic advising class at the University of Illinois for the second time. And the first time I taught it, I don't know what I was, but I was naive enough to have my students submit an article for publication. That was one of the assignments. They had to do it. Now, keep in mind, I had no publications at the time. I had never submitted an article. So what the heck am I doing having them submit articles? But that was right about the time that the mentor started at Penn State. And so part of the reason I did it was because I knew if I had my students submit an article, that I would submit an article. And so I did, they did, we all got published. 2002, fast forward, this is the second time I'm teaching it. I'm like, well, we all got published last time. Why not do this again? And so I was like, well, I have an article now, but if I'm going to have these students do it, they're going to have as many articles as I do by the end of this class if I don't write something. But I didn't know what I was going to write about. So back to ACE. Nancy and I are there talking about this values-based approach to advancing your career in higher ed administration. And after the presentation, it was in June, somebody came up to us and said, is this appreciative inquiry? I didn't know what appreciative inquiry was. Nancy didn't know what it was. So Nancy and I went back to her place on Nantucket, and we spent all weekend looking up what is appreciative inquiry. It's at that time where I'm looking for a topic for this second article. And I was like, gosh, the more I was learning about appreciative inquiry, the more I realized this is what I'm actually doing in my advising. I'm like, what the heck? Let's just write this article. And we called it Incorporating Appreciative Inquiry into Academic Advising. And it did. It changed my life, my career, everything. And I so did not expect that. So that's kind of where it all kind of came together. But, certainly I had been working as a full-time undergraduate advisor. I was a graduate student advisor when I was getting my master's degree at the University of Illinois. And all of those experiences came to the forefront in that article. So, yeah, that's how we started.
Appreciative advising has been called a paradigm shift in maybe how we view students. What would you want most advisors to know about it when they apply it in terms of understanding that concept?
The paradigm shift, I think I have always looked at my work as an advisor as a two-way street. And it is not just me giving advice. That when I'm at my best as an advisor, I am learning so much from my students every time. And I think that's the paradigm shift, is that this is really a two-way street, and that I, as the advisor, am really benefiting. And you know what? You look at some of the data that's out there. There's 60 million people who are lonely in this country.
Yeah.
1 out of 4 people. And we as advisors, we get to engage in these amazing conversations with students, and we get paid to do it.
Yeah.
And I have learned so much from my students. Literally just this morning, I'm talking to Jesse Ford, one of my students at the University of South Carolina, who's now on the faculty at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And he just mentions this song about Don't Blink, that has really impacted me, and I cannot stop thinking about that. So I have always looked at my work with students as a gift, and that it's an opportunity for me to learn. And I think that's with appreciative inquiry, what alerted me to the power of questions was David Cooper-Ryder's work on appreciative inquiry, because when I was a young advisor, I thought my job was to have all of the answers. And through both David Cooper-Ryder's work and then just plunging deep into the literature about asking questions, I realized that, yes, I've got to have, answers to basic questions. And no, nobody has all of the answers. But it really made me think about the questions that I ask. And so taking an appreciative approach to asking those questions is powerful.
Brody, it was about a year ago that Jenny came to campus here at the University of Central Arkansas and brought her in for a visit to spend time with the enrollment services and student success team here on campus. And so that's beyond advising as well, right? So like I have a advising team that's 20, 22 people, and then folks from admissions and financial aid and registrar. And one of the best parts of this experience was watching folks that have done the work that they've done in the field, whether it was from 1 year or 25 or 30 years, sit in this room and hear about appreciative inquiry, an appreciative approach, a different style. And you can just almost see the light bulb occur to them or go off at that moment of, oh, like I do some of this, but I haven't thought about it in that way. Or, oh, I do this, but I could enhance it in this way. And hearing them have those conversations and hearing that regardless of where they're at in their profession, regardless of what they're doing as far as the field, I think so often we think it's advising and that's it. And it's like, no, that's not it. Like it's so much more. It's a bigger world than that. And I think the things you're talking about, Jenny, that like that connection just in various areas really does touch more people, that they're able to digest this approach.
Yeah, I think it's one of the unexpected things that has happened. When that article came out, I certainly did not expect that it would be adopted so broadly across higher education offices and divisions. And I have to, again, give a lot of credit to my master's degree students at the University of South Carolina, because I continued to have them write articles for publication as part of my classes that I taught. And I did not require them to write articles about appreciative advising. They got to choose their own topics, but many of them could see that, what you're talking about in academic advising, that's actually what I'm doing in financial aid. That's actually what I'm doing in admissions. Really, it's the design phase that is different, in financial aid versus admissions versus orientation, right? Like what the plan that we're co-creating is going to have a different focus in these different offices. But sorry, you still have to get to know students. You have to understand that there is a power differential between us and our students, and that we need to be intentional about making them feel welcome. You still need to recognize that they have a whole lifetime of experiences. And so asking a good discover question to get to know them and build that rapport, and then dream, what are their dreams for the future? Then we can help them co-create a plan together, depending on what our area of expertise is. And of course, then the student goes out and delivers on the plan, and they're perfectly imperfect, just like we are. And so we help them learn from mistakes. And the don't settle phase is, again, for both us and for our students, this always trying to continue to get better. So, I wish I could, sit here and tell you, oh yeah, no, I saw that right from the get-go. I did not. But I'm really grateful that to my students who did see that. And it's pretty exciting to see how the literature base has really grown.
Yeah, and I think it's important too, especially when we think about like the evolution of AI and students' access to information. It really does get at the relational component of advising in such a structured but meaningful way that I think it is really a nice pathway to getting better at developing strong relationships with the folks that we work with in whatever area, right? Like we've talked about appreciative inquiry being able to work in almost any space, but even within advising, as I think as advising evolves, right? This model in many ways to me is helping meet the challenges of the next decade and the next generation of advisors.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. And I think, the strength of it is that it's a framework and it's not a dictation. It's not saying that this is the only way of doing things. It's not putting words in your mouth. Like, you've got to be you, I've got to be me, Kevin's got to be Kevin. Like, but we can all be working under the same framework with the same mindset, with the same intention of helping our students, really helping them. And knowing that they're the experts of their own lives and trying to draw out their own wisdom. It's not about my wisdom. It's about really, and that's where questions, I think, are so powerful, because it can, we can provide students with an opportunity to draw out that wisdom that they don't even know is within them, but it's there.
Yeah. Brody, Jenny's to blame for me being here. And that's one of those things that we talked about when she and I got a chance to connect last year when she was on campus. But when I took my job at Western Kentucky University, Jessica Staten and I, good Nakata colleague, we drove to Columbia, South Carolina for a Region 3 conference. And the keynote speaker was Jenny Bloom. And I think driving to that conference, I was like, oh, I have a job. That's nice. And that's great. I'm going to keep doing what I do. And I left that experience, and specifically the keynote experience, sitting there in this tiny ballroom that was just packed with folks. And I was like, oh, I'm in a profession, and here's what it is. And now I understand it. And so, Brody, and all of your anger on days when you're like, gosh, Kevin Thomas is so wrong on this, he blamed Jenny Bloom.
Yeah,
we're not that wrong on our professional thoughts, hardly ever, I don't think.
That's right. Jenny, one of the things, we're all connected to, and Nakata is probably a glue that has kept us connected for many, many years. From your vantage point, why do professional organizations and associations like Nakata matter for advisors and students alike?
I can't, it's almost difficult for me to put into words how much Nakata has meant to me. Here we are coming up to Las Vegas. As you know, Nakata has been in Las Vegas every 10 years, including in 1995. Speaking about being a student, I was a doc student at the University of Illinois. I was working full time as an academic advisor at the Institute of Aviation. And thankfully my tuition was covered, but I still had to cover books, and I didn't have a lot of money. And I was awarded the Nakata Graduate Student Scholarship.
Wow.
And I can't even tell you how much that meant to me, because money was tight.
Yeah.
And to have received that, it was $500 from them, really. And of course, it's not just the money, it's the recognition, because when you're a doc student, you're doing it in the dark. It seems like, nobody really knows what you're doing, and you just kind of lay low and get it done. And so that was really cool. But, I'll kind of date myself. 1990 was my very first Nakata conference, and it was in Los Angeles. It was in Anaheim. And it was really cool because my grandparents lived there. And so I remember they picked me up at the airport, and I got to spend a little time with them before going to the conference. And I remember going in the elevator, and Nancy King was there.
Oh.
And I remember calling my mom afterwards and saying to her, wow, to meet Nancy King. She's the president of NACADA. Like, I instantly felt at home because of Nancy King and that very first conference. And I've been going every year since. I've missed just 2 or 3 of them. So that's now 35 years. Don't blink. Like, I can't believe it. And it's been such a foundational part of who I am and the amazing people that I know, and the love and support that I have gotten from so many people over the years. And yesterday it was really cool. It was kind of a cool kind of moment. The advising graduate and professional students, what are they calling them now? Community. Yes. It's hard to keep up over the years. Absolutely. The community asked me to lead a panel on using appreciative advising with advising graduate and professional students. And so I did. I got together 5 people from various health profession schools as well as graduate school. And the appreciative advising community also co-sponsored it. And so it was really kind of cool because my first leadership position with NACADA was the Advising Graduate and Professional Students Commission at the time. And then later, I also was the chair of the appreciative advising community. So it brought together all of my worlds in one place. And what a thrill that was.
Jenny, you're leaving out one big role, right? You served as president, and this was happening, I think, during a real period of growth and professionalization of advising. What stands out most from that specific experience?
Yeah, so I was president from 2007 to 2008. I told you what a core memory it was for me to meet Nancy King in that elevator. And so the one thing that I wanted to do while I was president was to get to as many of the regional conferences as I could, because I knew how impactful it was. It wasn't about me. It was about the role, right? Being president. And I wanted to meet as many people as I could. And so that, of all the things, that was probably the highlight for me, paying that forward, that gift that Nancy gave me. I got to pay that forward a lot that year, and that just meant a lot to me personally. In terms of, every, president kind of has their agenda, but their what they're going to focus on for the year. And the year that I was president, I really wanted to focus on advancing the research in academic advising. And, a lot of really cool things have come from that. And I certainly don't take credit for everything that's happened, but Wendy Troxel and, the great work that the research center is doing, it has some of its roots back there. And so I think, but for me, it's always about the people and the people I got to meet, traveling the country and meeting folks. That was the best part for sure.
I bet. Because there are so many great folks that we get a chance to interact with.
Oh, I think academic advisors are the best people on the planet. I really do. I will lay the gauntlet down on that one. They're just so amazing and so dedicated to our students. And it's just inspiring to be around them.
Jenny, I love that you mentioned the regions. That's kind of where I grew up, right? Most of my really formative years in NACADA came through that regional involvement. And I think we undervalue the work that regions do in our space. I know Region 5, I go to Region 5 conferences all the time, and sometimes I'm learning more and getting connected to real work that's being done on my campus better in these smaller venues than at the annual conference, just because we're all in the same geographic location. Those networks are really important. So it was super cool to hear you say that in your role, getting out to the regions was something that was really important to you.
Yeah, the regions are, such, Region 5, that was my home region for many, many years. And then, I was with Region 3, and now I'm with Region 4. And my own, leadership path to the presidency did not come through the regions, but I always have had, such great experiences. There's just something about having a little bit of a smaller group of people that, I don't know, it's just easier, I think, to make connections for a lot of folks at the region level, whereas the annual conference can be let's just face it, it can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was clear to me that the thing to do was to get to as many regional conferences as possible.
This is what they would call in the courtroom a leading question. So we're going to go with that.
All right.
I know that you have some intriguing thoughts about AI and its impact and its role. So as you see the profession of advising changing in the next 10 years, what does that look like? And is AI a drastic part of that?
Yes. It has changed how I do my work. I tend to use Google Gemini. So if I talk about Gemini, that's what but same as ChatGPT, et cetera. But I think it's super helpful. As for me, it's a really helpful brainstorming partner. And I think the key to artificial intelligence is how can we use it so that we can spend less time dealing with administrivia and more time focused on what's really important in my mind is the students and how can we maximize our time with them. So I think there's great promise there. I am also aware that there's the potential for great peril there. And, I think we've got to have our eyes wide open as we move forward on this. But as a starting point, it has just really helped me accelerate my own work. And I'll give you a practical example. I had this panel that I was moderating yesterday, and it was about advising graduate and professional students using appreciative advising. And so I went on to Google Gemini and I said, I've got, these people who are going to be on this panel, and they're going to be talking about advising graduate and professional students, using the appreciative advising approach. What are good questions that I could ask them? Holy guacamole. It came up with a ton of great questions. And so then, though, that's not it, right? Then I had to go through, I had to curate it, I had to do editing, etc. Then I ran it by the people who were on the panel. I let them select the questions that they were most interested in answering. But wow, that probably saved me, probably 4 or 5 hours. And sure. I can tell you that the questions that Gemini came up with were really very targeted and specific and on point. And it saved me a bunch of time. Time is our most precious asset in many ways. And so the more that I can, focus on the things that are really important, the better.
That's absolutely true. And we hear often, I hear this from advisors all the time, right? 30 minutes isn't enough time to kind of get through what I want to get through. And so I spend a lot of time when I go and talk at NACADA or speak with advisors, asking questions like, well, break down the 30 minutes for me. What does it look like? And where could you save time in those spaces? I think it is a space where if we really pay attention to the the tools that we have at our disposal, we get more effective at doing the things that are really important. And I think AI has to be a part of that. No question about it.
I agree.
So let's talk a little bit about balancing relational, student-centered approaches like appreciative advising with things that, say, for example, Kevin and I have to pay attention to in our roles, which are the growing institutional and data-driven pressures of, say, retention rates, graduation rates. How do we balance those things? How can advisors balance those things?
Well,
using
first of all,
appreciative advising.
It's not easy to do. I mean, let's just be honest, right? I mean, it's not like this is like, oh, I don't have a magic bullet on this. I wish that I did. Maybe I don't. I keep going back to what Michael Bjorkia, who is the director of the Office of Appreciative Education, talked about after the pandemic hit. And the phrase that has stayed with me is people before process. I think, and again, to come back around to questions, I am finding that it's the most important thing to do is to realize that I don't have to have all of the answers, but I need to be able to ask good questions, not only of the people that I'm working with, to get them to remember that we've got to put students first, people first before process, but also for myself. What's the most important thing that I need to be doing in this minute? What should be my top priority? Am I focused right now on people before process? Like, I think there has to be this constant, reflection on what we're doing. And of course, you have to produce what you're being asked to produce. And oftentimes we're not just limited to what we've been asked to produce in a report, that we can also come and say, hey, while I was in the data a little bit, I was looking at some of the qualitative that came in. Here's some emerging things that I'm hearing from students. And you can do what you've been asked to do and report what you've been asked to report. And you can also bring in additional insights into those meetings that maybe people aren't thinking about. Data is important, but which data are we reporting?
Yeah.
Why are we reporting this data? Why are we relying on one metric to say that we're successful? I think that has to be a continual question that we're asking ourselves and our colleagues.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Kevin and I have talked about storytelling quite a bit as an important part of the narrative related to retention and student success. And I think your concept of people over process is a great reminder of that. Sorry, Kevin.
No, I think back to, and I'm going to get the time frame on this wrong, but it was within the last 5 or 6 years. And I saw this video, and it was of FAU grad students who were graduating. And there's this moment in which they're thanking folks. And this particular grad student was thanking you.
Right. It is the relationships. It is the people that really matter. And, being able to tell the story is important. Being able to produce the data is important. Right. And being able to tell those stories of the students. And for me, it's what, it's my why. It's what it's all about, is the students and their success. And, this is one good thing about, not blinking, is that, as you get older, you get to see your former students be successful. And it's just indescribable how cool it is, that I got to meet this morning with Jesse, and he's going to be the closing keynote at our Appreciative Education Conference in 2026. And, and I got to meet with one of my MD PhD students from the University of Illinois a couple of weeks ago. He was in town. I got to have lunch with him. I just got a text from Danielle, the woman who did that video. She was sending me an article about Brene Brown because it made her think of me, like, oh my gosh, like this is just in the last week or two. And so I think that has just been one of the best gifts of my life, and certainly of getting older, is being able to see my students go on and do amazing things.
Yeah, Jenny, I want to say this. One of the things that I've admired about you the most, and I don't know if this is where we met or not, but I know that you spent a lot of time in your NACADA career doing a session about whether or not to pursue a terminal degree or not. And for the record, I do not have a terminal degree. So it didn't work.
It's okay. Yeah. But Brody, if you recall, like that was one of the messages, like you're going to have a great life whether you get this degree or not.
Yeah, but what I want to say about that is it just speaks to, and every time you did that session, this is what I was most impressed about, right? You're a busy person. You were a really important person, and you always made this offer. And the offer was, if you're pursuing this and you need help and you want someone to kind of review stuff or talk to when you're having a problem or a setback, or when you're trying to decide whether you're going to do this or not, I'm your person. Feel free to call me. And Jenny, that is so selfless and really, I think, indicative of the character that you bring every day. And I just want to say, I still think that's one of the most amazing things about you, is just how much you care about the folks that you interact with on a regular basis, like that you're meeting for the first time. And it's just amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. And I will say again, like just yesterday, I was meeting with Mike Giroux, and, Mike and I meet every month, and I'm helping him with dissertation, and I'm editing and sending him feedback. And again, is that nice of me to do that? Yes. Do I need to do that? No. Do I get a lot out of it? Oh, yes.
Sure.
I do. I really enjoy those conversations, and I'm getting to learn, about research and like it's all of that is just, I get out of it far more than what I put into it. And I put a lot into each of those relationships, but I love it. So yeah, it's
amazing.
It's an honor to do that.
We're going to have some fun, Jenny, now, I think, and kind of get to some personality driven questions.
Okay.
So I want to tell you this. I was motivated by your streak, and for 5 years I had a 10,000 steps a day streak. This April I had to break that. I had a torn meniscus, and that was really unpleasant. And I'm still back at it now, going 10,000 steps. You've been running 5 miles a day every day for 15 years.
Okay, so let me clarify. All right, so on December 25th of 2005, I made the declaration that I was going to take 10,000 steps every day from that day forward through the end of 2006.
Okay.
And I did. And so that started it. So we're coming up on now 20 years. And now I was not every day for a little while. So anyway, but that's how I got myself supercharged into taking 10,000 steps. I continued to do that. I moved to South Carolina, made it a lot easier because I was able to be outside. I'm not a treadmill person. I love to be outside. But then I was finding I had to be a lot more efficient with my time. So I started running just to take a little bit less time, to be honest. And I started to take off Wednesdays because I was teaching at South Carolina. Wednesday morning, a 3-hour class, an afternoon class, 3 hours, and an evening class, 3 hours. That's a lot. I deserve a day off of 10,000 steps. But of course, what day was I not feeling great? It was Wednesday. Sure. And so it is now I think it'll be 14 years in January, where I haven't missed a day of taking 10,000 steps.
That's incredible.
I have gone, it will be almost 5.5 years that I have been running 5 miles every day. So I did that, right at the beginning of the pandemic. Like there was so much uncertainty, and I will say that, I'm Kevin knows I'm when I'm out talking, I'm saying, and when we're dealing with so much uncertainty right now, that I think the thing that we all have to do is double down on taking good care of ourselves first, because if we're not at our best, we're not going to be able to be as nimble and reacting, and pivot as we need to. So, yeah. So I've gone 5.5 years of 5 miles every day. And let me tell you, it's a little bonkers. I mean, I've been to Egypt. I've gotten off, 13-hour flights and then had to take a train home and then go out and run 5 miles, to beat midnight. So I've done that. I've certainly gotten up at 2:00 in the morning. Kevin knows when I came to his campus, I had an early morning flight, so I didn't get up at 2 a.m. that day, but I did go on a run around campus, and so it's a little bit.
I ran past you in Pittsburgh last year at 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. I'm like, God, she's a beast.
Yeah. It's the just do it. And I was just seeing something that says, you do it anyway, because there's still rarely a day where I'm like, yay, I can't wait to get out. I do it first thing in the morning. I get it done. To be honest, after I don't even think I'm awake for about the first half of my 5 miles. And so then, so I only have like 2.5 miles because I've kind of sleep run through the first thing. But it was so funny at the beginning when you all were talking, I was like, I could feel my heart rate go up because when I listen to you, I'm usually running. So I listen to podcasts when I run. And so hearing your voices made me like, I wanted to start running immediately. So yeah, funny.
Well, we're glad you stuck around for the show today. And I will say both of you have been excellent examples in that, Brody. I know you were so upset your streak was snapped for the reasons it was, but I'm at 2.5 years because of both of you on the 10,000 steps. No, I'm not running unless somebody's chasing me, but I'm still doing okay.
That's great.
It counts.
All right. So what is your favorite podcast or audio book or book that you're into right now?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Relationship Rich Education, the book. We're having a webinar tomorrow that Caleb Morris is doing for the Office of Appreciative Education about the overlap between appreciative advising and relationship rich education that I'm excited about. But then podcasts. I mean, this is what I listen to. And so I kind of have, I think, an eclectic group that I talk to. Of course, Adventures in Advising. Of course, the Pickup Meeting. I listen to Smartless.
Yeah.
To We Can Do Hard Things. I listen to the Journal, the Wall Street Journal's, kind of daily podcast because it gives me, it keeps me up on things that I don't normally hear about. So that's good. Yeah. So that's just some of the ones that I listen to.
Do you have a go-to road trip snack, Jenny?
I tend, this is very boring, but water. I've never been a road snack person, but I will say I have, when I'm flying, which is different than being in a car, I have found lately that I have a tendency for somehow I go into the little airport store, and when I walk out, there's like some peanut M&Ms that have jumped into my backpack. So I'm going to go with peanut M&Ms. How about that?
That's great.
What's a class that you wish you could sit in on just for fun?
I think I was a physical education teaching major when I was at Illinois State University. I think subsequently, I have read so much of the positive psychology literature. I would love to take a positive psychology class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be very cool.
Do you have a favorite way to celebrate a small win?
The main way that I celebrate small wins is Steve and I go out for dinner and we celebrate. So yeah, we did that last night, because it was a small win, having the panel go so well yesterday. And so we went out and celebrated that last night.
Do you have a smell that instantly makes you happy? Or maybe takes you to some other place? We can evolve this question.
I'm thinking about Nakata. So when we were in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. 2013.
What's the name of that hotel? The Little Grand, something like that.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? It was so weird. I was going back to my hotel room, and I walked into the small building because they have a bunch of different buildings.
Yeah.
It immediately took me back to my dad's parents' house. So my grandparents on my dad's side. It immediately took me back to like 1975. And it was breathtaking how spot on the smell was. It like blew me away. So when I think about smell, I think about that experience. Like it took me back to my grandparents' house, just like that.
That's amazing. Do you remember the first Nakata session you ever presented?
Yeah, so how I got started, I think it was actually with my cousin, Christy. I was scared to death of presenting at Nakata. The only way that I was able to gather the courage to be able to present was to have a co-presenter. So I always tell people who are starting out, because it is intimidating to present at Nakata for the first time. And so I think my cousin Christy and Christy Bloom Kuntz, who is now she's a senior associate provost at the University of Illinois now, she and I presented together. And I think that might have been one of the first times that I presented, but certainly that's what I did probably for the first 5 or 6 times that I presented, was just to have a co-presenter.
What's a song that always puts you in a good mood? This will be our wrap-up question.
Yeah, so Steve and I, every night we go out on our porch and we have what we call porch hours. And there are rules to porch hours.
I love this.
Yep, there's no electronics. You cannot be on your phone. And we sometimes we'll play music. Well, we have, I don't want to say her name because she'll come on, Alexa, and we'll ask her to play something. But then we also, at the end of the evening, when we've watched the sunset, I'm not sure how to help you with that. There she is.
Alexa chimes in.
That we end with what we say porch hours to her. And she will play 3 songs. And one of them is Piano Man by Joel. And then the last one is Time to Say Goodbye. And the first one is Southern Cross. So we always end with Southern Cross, Piano Man, and Time to Say Goodbye. And, it's great because by the time to Say Goodbye is done, we're both like, we're ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, what a wonderful story. What a wonderful way to wrap this up. It is time for us to say goodbye. But Jenny, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. Truly a pleasure and a joy.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I am big super fans of you both, and congratulations on the early success of the podcast. And I truly am humbled and honored to have been asked to be on this. So thank you both, and please keep up the good work. And Brody, go Redbirds.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny.
So great.
What good food for my soul today. That's what this has been.
Yes. So amazing.
We got a lot of music in today.
We did. I was super excited about that.
Yeah, I figured you would be in all of the areas that you're focused on, music. Now you have records to go look up and buy for things that you don't already have, but you probably already have them all.
No, the one thing I think traditions in music are really great. Like one of the things that my wife and I do is that first cup of coffee, I almost always put a record on. I try to listen to at least one record a day, and it's that 6:20 to 7:20 kind of time frame where I pop a record on and we just listen and talk. And sometimes Kat's like, what is this? If it's jazz, it's really good, or I hate this, but it is still a really fun part of the relationship. And so I really appreciated that. It's a great story.
It is fantastic. And then, just hearing about appreciative advising and the approach that so many of our team members are utilizing, so many of our staff are a part of, and how it is shaping their experience as professionals, but shaping the impact that's occurring on our campuses to our students. You just can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah. People over process, right, is a simple phrase that I'm going to remember, right, from our time with her, that it's just that reminder that it's the folks that are right in front of us that matter the most. And that pedagogy of presence, right? Like giving them our best, learning and listening and asking the right questions, dreaming with folks, whether it's professionals we work with or the students that we're working with or our friends, just really kind of making certain that that is our priority in our conversations and work with folks.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to end the show in a new way today.
Yes,
are you excited about this?
I'm really excited about it.
So this is some stealing from a previous guest.
It is.
I do these road trips with a previous guest, Ben Gross. And Ben and I do top 3 or top 5 lists as we're driving along the interstate as we're heading off to Gatlinburg. And so we said, well, let's come up with a top 3 list that we're going to end the show with. And today's top 3 list is top movie or TV themes. I think we all stuck in TV themes. So it's top TV themes of all time. And I'm going to start and I'll let you know, here's some of them on the big board that didn't make my top 3.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I have Succession and Friends, The Office, and Parks and Rec. My Game of Thrones is on there. The West Wing. I know you're really surprised The West Wing didn't hit a top 3 for me.
I am surprised.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Schitt's Creek, Friday Night Lights, and really one of my favorites is the Olympic theme song. I just love that song. But here are my top 3.
Okay.
In no particular order, because I don't know where any given day this could change. The Golden Girls. Listen, that song comes on and it's the Golden Girls.
That's great.
Full House.
Okay.
And Cheers. Those are my 3.
So kind of a mix of 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
I went 70s and 80s. That's because I'm old.
Yeah. So tell us why it's Green Acres.
Settle down. I picked MASH.
Yeah.
And I think MASH was on Monday nights, and it was the night that my mom and dad would go bowling. They had this bowling league, like back in the day when people hung out with each other and did real things and weren't on their phone playing video bowling. And so we always watched MASH before we left. I picked Hill Street Blues. I think that's a great classic TV theme. That was the first drama I remember watching when I was a kid. And then I picked Miami Vice, which is just an amazing. But like I was thinking Hawaii Five-0 would be on my list for sure.
Yeah, like what's on the big board other than those 3 or 4? I
mean, Law and Order is famous for sure.
So you're more on the musical or the instrumental, less in the people singing.
How about this? The Greatest American Hero, right?
Yeah.
Like the Seinfeld. That is a great TV theme. No question about it.
My old roommate in college did his answering machine to that song.
Yes.
But it was like, believe it or not, I'm not home right now.
Yeah.
Like it just would and it was just perfect.
George did that on Seinfeld too.
Oh, is that right? I'm not a Seinfeld person, so.
Yeah. He stole it from George.
He did. Gosh, so slick, that Casey Shorts. Well, I think we've hit our end today.
We have. I had so much fun today, and I want to thank Jenny Bloom again for coming on. But, friends, that's it for this edition of the Pickup Meeting. We hope all your regular meetings are as productive and as fun as this pickup meeting was today. Until the next time, let's do good and be nice. Just be nice.